Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today's video, you're going to learn how to take this old, ugly piece of flooring that I ripped up and turn it into this gem. This is a nice, beautiful piece of wood now. So from ugly to awesome. Stay tuned to find out more. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. Welcome back to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. So, as you can see here, I have quite a bit of flooring that was ripped up. So, Uncle Tom allowed me to come to his house. He was doing some renos, and he had some flooring. He didn't need it anymore, and I thought, you know what? Let's repurpose this flooring. So, I just ripped it all up, and you can tell there's a bunch of holes because when you put down a flooring on your house, you toenail it in where the tongue is. So over time, when you go to rip it up, of course, you're going to have all these holes that are in the tongue. So that part of the board we can't use, but we can take the table saw and rip the tongue and the groove off of this piece. And then with the planer, I can plane it down and repurpose it into some more useful lumber for other projects. So we're going to go ahead and start on the restoration of all this wood. I'm not going to show you how to do all of it. I'll just take a few boards. Actually, I got a stack here, it's quite smaller, and I'll just take this stack and run it through the table saw. Show you the steps that I do to repurpose this flooring so that you yourself, when you stumble across boards in general, whether it's flooring, it doesn't have to be flooring, it could be any type of wood, rough cut, you can repurpose it for future projects. So let's dive into that now. Okay, so the first step you're going to want to do with your old flooring is remove any bad spots. So with this piece here, you'll notice on this board, it's actually in really good shape. The surface is nice, there's no nail holes, it's in really good shape. So all I need to do is take off the tongue, and then of course the groove side, I'm just going to come in just slightly on the inside and rip that as well. So this board will be pretty easy to fix, but we'll get into some worse boards. This board here is quite bad. We got a bunch of nail holes when it got ripped up. So I'm going to have to take my blade and actually come in further. So you want to go to the outside of the defect as far as you need to go, just to preserve the wood. So I'd recommend, kind of identifying the flaws in the wood and just going to the inside. Same with this opposite side, groove side that's ripped off. So you can see that it's pretty rough shape. So I'm going to come in quite a bit further and run my blade along. So you'd always want to go to the more of the inside of the worst part of the board, so you get a nice clean edge. All right, and then this other board, same idea. You just kind of inspect it. You can tell this one's in more than rough shape. So I'm going to go in even further and with my saw blade and rip that. So at the end of the day, you want some usable wood. You got to make sure that you identify all the flaws and cut them out of the board. So without further ado, let's turn the saw on and rip these boards and cut off all the defects. So before you start any tool up, you're going to want to make sure you have your proper safety. So in this case, a push stick, so your fingers aren't too close to the blade, and some hearing protection because this saw is above the decibel, and of course safety glasses. I know a lot of times when you're out in the shop, I'll forget these. I'll have them on the counter and just not pay attention, or even my glasses, because I actually wear prescripted glasses, so I'll forget because I'll already have glasses on that they're not the safety ones. So that does happen from time to time, but in your shop, just kind of make it a practice as best you can to wear your safety glasses and your headphones just for future use, and of course your eyes, definitely a big one. So let's fire this up and run these boards through. Okay, so you could tell, maybe in the video, maybe not, but there was a nail that wasn't quite found in your wood. So just double check that. This one was sunk down in, so I couldn't see it. If you have a metal detector, even better. But yeah, always make sure, or at least the best you can, that the nails are removed. I thought I got them all, but in this particular case, I didn't. So I think you've seen some sparks there flying up, and that's all that was. So yeah, just try not to catch any nails. It wrecks your blade. You know, cutting metal is not good for your blade, of course, so it dulls it, and it's kind of dangerous. So yeah, just be mindful of that. So that's a good example of that happening on your saw. All right, so now I'm going to move the fence over. So I just cut the tongue off, and I'm going to line it up to where I need it for the groove. And it doesn't have to be accurate because you're just taking off the waste. And then once you get that set up, you can lock in your fence again and then run the board through. And always check for nails. You know, I had one that went through the blade, so just be mindful of that. So as you can see there, we got a nice edge to work with, you know, for projects. So that's perfect. And then we're gonna take the planer and of course resurface it at the next stage. So what you want to do now is go through your rest of your boards. Obviously, I'm not going to do this whole stack, but I'm just going to do 4 of them to show you what it's like to start from a rough board and then you know, reuse the wood. You'll probably notice the difference between this board and this board is quite a bit for the width. We're not worried about that. We just want to trim off the bad portion of the board so we can repurpose it and reuse it for a project. So don't worry about the widths, trying to get them all the same size. Just clean them up so they look nice, and that's kind of the goal with this. That's the goal with reusing these flooring pieces. So I'm going to set these over here. All right, let's go on to the other two pieces. All right, there's the third board. Edge is nice and true. Looks good. All right, so on to the second stage. I'm going to put my table saw away, and I should mention, a lot of times when you have a smaller shop like I do, you got to swap out tools. So I have to take this all down, have to wheel it to the back, then I got to grab my planer, and I got to set it all up. So there's lots of back and forth steps to a small shop, and I hopefully that won't scare you away from actually having a shop. There is a bit more work involved, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that I have this shop. I can get out and I can do projects. So don't let that discourage you from having to move tools around and kind of shuffle things. You know, if anything, you know, it's just great that you have a space where you can do projects. So let's dive into the next step, and I'll dig out the planer. Okay, so we're at stage 2 of this prep for these old boards and resurfacing them to make them new again, repurpose them. So I did the table saw first to true up the edges, and you know, if you want to, you can take your miter saw and clean up the ends. That's also a stage that you can do, but I kind of skipped that one for now because I don't know the length of the board. I'm just trying to get them kind of prepped to use for projects. So we're going to slowly run these through the planer. What I recommend is to get a nice flat base. So you're going to want to use your better side. If you have a better side, you know, put that down first and then clean up the rough side. And then once that's more level, then you can flip it over and of course use the planer on the better side of the board. So in this particular case, if there's any cupping or warping, you'd want to use a planer sled. But in this case, this was flooring that was laid down for a long time, and it's pretty good for the most part. So I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna use my Indie Cut measurings to make sure I don't take off too much material for the first pass, and then of course I'll make the adjustments as I go. If you want full details and full review on how this planer actually works, I do have a video of this planer, of review, and I go through all the steps, how it works. I go through even the maintenance, waxing the surfaces, to in-feed and out-feed, how to do all that. So if you'd like any information on this planer, I do have that video. So search for that on my channel, a rigid planer. All right, so let's dive in and start our first piece. Okay, after running the first piece through, you can tell it's come out very nicely. It's back to its original finish, and it looks great. So this would be great for a project, back to a usable piece again. Whereas before, you can see, it was in rough shape. So the difference is pretty cool. So yeah, just to repurpose boards instead of throwing them out is nice. It does require some work, but if you're up for the challenge, like I am, just to repurpose the flooring, and yeah, it saves some money in the end, because a lot of times, wood is quite expensive. So if you can cut some corners, you already have the tools. So it's just a matter of getting out in your shop and performing this type of transition for the wood. I think it's it's a perfect setup to be able to do that. So that was stage 2. So I'm going to run through the other 3 boards. So let's keep going, putting the boards through, and I'll show you the 4 boards when I'm done, the finished look. So as you can see, at each pass, it takes more and more of the clear coat, stain, whatever, probably a clear coat, I would say, based on the coloring on the top. So yeah, you just want to bring it down until all that's gone, and then flip it over and do the side that's a bit more finished, so that it's should be more level in theory. So let's fire it back up and keep going. I should mention too, with this particular planer, I'm not sure what model of planer that you use, but there's an indie cut on the front that gives you your depth. So you can just basically touch your board to the front of it, and it will give you how much is going to come off. And then each time you just turn it a quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn. That way you're not taking off tons of wood. It's really preference, but at the end of the day, I'd rather turn this only a quarter turn and take less off, so it's easier on the motor, on the machine. You can do a bit more, but you can also listen. I can tell when this thing's working hard. And of course, the wider the board, the more it's cutting at once. So you got a narrow board like this, when you put it through, it's only actually reacting to this width. Wider board, 13-inch, obviously it's taking off more wood at once, so it's harder on the motor. So just kind of a tip when it comes to the planer. Just take your time, let the planer do its job, remove the wood, and like I said, in my opinion, just do less. It takes a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, your machine is going to thank you for the extra, or in this case, the least amount of labor on the motor. So let's jump back into it. Okay, so I got all 4 boards planed up the exact way that I want. You can tell it's back to the natural wood. There's no stain, there's no coat on them. They're right back to the original. So now this is ready for a project. So I can cut my length, whatever I want for my project. And it's good to note on this planer, there is a part of it, one of the features I should say, it's called a repeated cut. So if you were planing a lot of these through and you wanted them the same thickness, set that on your planer and then keep feeding them through until they get to the exact thickness you're looking for. Well, in this particular case, I just wanted to make sure they were nice and cleaned up and whatever thickness that needed to be to bring down the surface to make them usable again, that's what I was willing to do. So if I were, say, going to do a project, say a coffee table, and I wanted the thickness to all be the same, I of course would set it and then run the boards through until all 4 of these were the exact thickness. Thanks for watching today's video. Hope you learned a little bit about taking an old piece of flooring and flipping it into something nice that you can use for future projects. If you have any questions about the tools I use or maybe the techniques involved, please leave your comments below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you're not part of the Shop Talk family, click on that subscribe button there so you'll get notified for any future videos that come out on my channel. Thanks for watching and have yourself a great day.